back to my channel. My name is Katie. So today I want to cover extreme and unusual hardship factors. And so what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to find what USCIS considers hardships and tips on how to show that those hardships relate to you and your immigrant spouse. Okay. So before we get into that, though, I did want to just touch on one thing really briefly. It's called deference decisions. So right here, and this is from USCIS.gov. Okay. So deference to prior determinations when adjudicating extension requests involving same parties. So this was implemented back in April of 21. So I know it used to be in place at some point, and then like when Trump came in, I think it got taken out and then they re-implemented it. So anyway, so basically, what this is saying is that if you're coming back to immigration for something that maybe, say for instance, you already went to court over and a judge made a decision on it, then they are to use that same decision. Now, here it says, unless there was a material error, material change, or new material facts. So, if one of these three things apply to your situation, then you definitely want your attorney to make that known, because that's really important. Because if you do have new evidence that maybe it wasn't previously available to you or whatever the case may be, then that requires them to not defer the decision back to whoever it was that made the original judgment. Okay, so here are some things to keep in mind. It's always best to have legal representation with dealing with immigration. These people, they go to school for this kind of thing and they know the legal system better than you do. And immigration is really, really, really complex. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got an attorney. Do not try to represent yourself unless you specifically have knowledge about the legal system. So it's also important to do your own research. You don't want to just completely rely on your attorney to know everything and to do everything, because they're in it for the money at the end of the day. They can say, whatever they want to say to convince you otherwise, but ultimately, they went to school to be an attorney and to make money. So, you need to do your own research because they're not going to deep dive into things in general. And the biggest reason is because it's personal to you. It's not personal to them. So you're going to have a little bit more passion about the situation than what they are. Okay. So Google is a really, really good tool for doing any kind of research. So when you're Googling something for immigration, so my suggestion for research is to first identify what it is that you want to research about immigration. Okay. So we can use this hardship situation. Okay. So we want to find out about hardship. So the second thing to your Google search is going to be the area, which is immigration. Okay. So we have our topic that we want to find out about. The area is immigration. And then the third thing is going to be USCIS. That way, if there's anything relating to the specific thing that you're wanting to learn about on USCIS website, it's going to pop up first because the USCIS website is the best place to go for immigration information in general, because these are, the policies and the guidelines that the immigration employees are supposed to follow. Okay. So it's best to get your information from their website. All right. So I'm going to move myself out the way. All right. What does extreme and unusual hardship mean? So, extreme and unusual hardship is something the immigrant or the immigrant spouse would suffer if deportation or separation occurs that is beyond the normal scope of things that are expected for a person to go through. So, being hurt, missing someone, or causing emotional distress is not enough to support an extreme and unusual hardship. And these are the 5 areas that the unusual hardship is going to cover. So you've got family ties and impact, social and cultural impact, economic impact, health conditions and care, and country conditions. So, again, here we are on USCIS website, and we are under the extreme hardship considerations and factors. So, this is the first part of it is just going to kind of give you some information about the responsibility of the officer in, making their decision basically on arguments and evidence that was submitted. So they're really supposed to take the whole situation into consideration, and just the impact of the situation as a whole, like not just today, but tomorrow, in a week, in a month, so they're supposed to take all that into consideration. So, here we have common consequences, the common consequences of denying admission in and of themselves do not warrant a finding of extreme hardship. The Board of Immigration Appeals has held that the common consequences of denying admission include but are not limited to the following: family separation, economic detriment, difficulties of readjusting to life in the new country, the quality and availability of educational opportunities abroad, inferior quality of medical service and facilities, and ability to pursue a chosen employment abroad. Okay. So, like I said, factors must be considered cumulatively. So that is just the whole picture, right? It's not just today, but it's going to be what is the lasting impact, right? What is this family going to go through in the long run? How is this deportation or separation or relocation, how is it going to affect everybody that's involved in the long run? Do they do that? No, but it's what they're supposed to do. Okay, so now we're going to get into the 5 areas, and I'm not going to cover everything one by one because it would take forever. So what you want to do though is you do want to sit down and you want to go through each one of these things, and read them. If it applies to you, my suggestion is to create a Word document, copy and paste the section or sections that apply to you. And why? Why do they apply to you? You know, so social and cultural impact. So this is just going to go over different things that you may go through, or your spouse may go through. Fear of persecution or societal discrimination. So the country of origin is going to depend on what type of issues you may face or what type of issues your spouse will face. Okay. So, just for instance, Jamaica. So, we're going to use this one. Qualifying relatives present inability to communicate in the language of the country of relocation, as well as the time and difficulty that learning that language would entail. So, the reason I use Jamaica is because Jamaican patois, if you don't know, it's very, very difficult. It's a very complex language. Okay. So you may be able to use or learn to use little phrases like wagwan, what are you doing? Something like that. But as far as using the actual language, learning the actual language like fluently, you've got to be native born or have spent a significant amount of time in Jamaica, okay? Because it is so complex to learn. So, that would be an extreme and unusual hardship for an American to go to Jamaica. All right, so next section is economic impact. So, this is, and I want to go into this one as an example, decline in the standard of living, including due to significant unemployment, underemployment, or other lack of economic opportunity in the country of relocation. So specifically with Jamaica, if you're an American and you're trying to go to Jamaica, you have to get like employment before you even go to Jamaica. And they cannot give you a job over giving a native a job. So that is a bit of a complication, right? All right. So next section, healthcare, health conditions and care. So again, this is going to depend on the country that your spouse is from. So, for instance, again, I don't have anything against Jamaica. It's just my husband is Jamaican, so I just know about Jamaica, right? So anyway, health conditions and the availability and quality of any required medical treatment. So again, Jamaica is like they have private insurance that you can purchase, but healthcare is free in Jamaica to Jamaicans or anyone that's been naturalized as a Jamaican. But in comparison to American healthcare, now we're not talking about cost, okay? We're just talking about the quality of care. So the American quality of care versus the Jamaican quality of care is completely different. So you're going to get better quality in America than what you would in Jamaica. So Especially if you have like chronic medical conditions that are related to mental illness. Um, Access to prescription drugs is not available like it is in America. So, if you do have chronic medical conditions that you take medicine for daily, then that's going to affect you, and you're not going to be able to get access to that kind of stuff. All right, so country conditions. This is the last section. So, this section is especially important if your spouse is from a country that is not wonderful. Okay. So again, because my husband's Jamaican, we're gonna use Jamaica just because Jamaica is like the perfect example for uh almost everything on this list, really. Um, so the conditions of the country, including civil unrest, violence, current U.S. military operations. Okay, so just to kind of go through it really quickly, Jamaica has a state of emergency. They had one last year, they reissued another one. Um, they do offer danger pay for U.S. government workers that are stationed in Kingston, Jamaica. They're not allowed to go certain places, like they can't leave after a certain time, and they can't be by themselves and that kind of stuff. Okay, so the Peace Corps are in Jamaica. They have not pulled them out, but right here where it says DOS travel warnings or alerts. So right now, Montego Bay, I believe, and another area has a level 3 travel warning on it, which means reconsider travel. And then underneath that is like a ton of parishes in Jamaica that have do not travel. Okay, so that is going to create an extreme and unusual hardship for not only you but your spouse. They can't go back to a country that has DOS travel warnings. They can't go back to a country that offers danger pay for U.S. government workers. They can't go back to a country that has a state of emergency declared because they have so much violence and crime and gang activity. And, you know, the police are not able to get to or sometimes do anything about a crime that's occurring. So that's really really important, especially depending on the country that you're going to. So um like I said, it's best just to kind of go through each one of these sections and go over each bullet point that they have in each section. And if that bullet point applies to you, copy and paste it in a document, and then underneath of it, say why does this affect you, and if you have to send some type of proof in, like a check stub, because hey, I rely on this person financially, like they are the breadwinner or whatever the case is, make sure that you have that evidence available, because you don't just want to say, well, yeah, this applies to me. You need to have evidence to back it up. Okay, so evidence can be like I said, check stubs to prove that, you only make this much money and your spouse makes this much money. All right. So that's it for hardships and extreme and unusual hardships. And then just one more thing. So down at the bottom, it gives hypothetical case examples, and so this is just good to read over just so you can kind of get an idea of um, what it is that they're looking for. So I actually went through and read all of them. And it does kind of put things into perspective a little bit better because, like, for instance, scenario one, when you read over it, it's like, okay, well, in this scenario, no, they don't qualify for an extreme and unusual hardship. But then in scenario two, they take some of the facts from scenario one and then they add in something else to it. Well, because, you know, so Pat's doctor provides a statement that confirms Pat will continue to progress and function well if Pat keeps receiving medical treatment and support from other family members, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then we go down here and it says, okay, it talks about what they didn't necessarily, qualify for, or like they said here, which are generally common consequences, but also the additional medical hardship that Pat would experience if Pat relocates to Tyler's native country, the attestation of Pat's doctor expressing concerns. So this would generally favor a finding of extreme hardship. So that's why I say it's important to just kind of go through and read all this, because it'll just kind of put it into perspective a little bit better for you and give you a better idea of maybe how to piece things together for yourself. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, just leave a comment or you can email me and I'll make sure I get you an answer. So thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.